succulents, and then mist them. That is a good recipe for getting it to re-bloom. I had to reread the instructions on this fertilizer because I forgot exactly how much I need, because every fertilizer is different in like ratio of fertilizer to water. For plants like this, I use distilled water. I'm sort of pointing it out there, where these kinds of plants, for like the Medill, a couple of my Alocasias, I know they're called Alocasias, but I just think that Alocasia sounds better. I use distilled water because it, like the minerality of the tap water where I live is just not necessarily very healthy for my plants. Sometimes if you live in cities, it's a little bit better in terms of like the salinity of your, the sort of minerality of your tap water. I think I figured out what I was trying to do there. I need 14 drops because I think this watering can fit a certain amount of water, and then you need to do, like I said, you need to get the ratios right, because I don't want to burn any of my plants, any of their roots. But throughout this video, I'm just going to be showing off different plants that I have. Flower Child, or Sarah Marie wanted me to do a little bit of tracing, which ended up actually looking a lot more like me using Kleenex to wipe the leaves off. This, excuse me for my throat gurgles, but this Medill specifically, if the soil has too much, like if the soil isn't, like if it has certain minerals in it, those minerals are of course soluble in water. So then the Medill, of course, sucks up water, and then it sweats, quote unquote, sweats out that water content as like mineral salt on the leaves. So often you'll see me wiping the leaves off. I think I'm about to do that here, yes. I'm not using a Kleenex for this one just because I don't want to harm it at all, but that, like I said, it looks like salt, and it's got almost a dusty consistency to it. It's very odd, honestly. And oh yeah, here I bring my Kleenexes along. But I like to just sort of take care of it, and I know also, as a plant parent, touching the leaves of your plants is always a good idea. It can strengthen up your stems, but also dust is a significant stunter of plant growth. For my Alocasias specifically, you'll see in a little bit, I have my Alocasia Regin out that has dust that accumulates on its leaves, and it blocks photosynthesis. If it's a little bit of dust, you're not expecting too much harm to be done, but if it's a lot, that starts blocking out a significant percentage of sunlight that can be hitting the leaves, especially because dust most often is lighter in color, sort of a grayish color. That dust cover can end up reflecting light as well, and that's no good. Oh, you can see me. I have like this thing about textures on my hands. I love my hands to be clean, so you will see me walking off camera to wipe off my hands a lot. I think I am signaling that I'm done with the Medill. I'm just putting it off to the side in my kitchen. You get a good look of my photos from when I was a kid that are on the fridge. And then also my mom's espresso machine. Oh, that was me signaling that I'm going to make a little bit of a cut. I think I'm going to make a cut in the video here, just because I was doing laundry this day as well. So I'm going to figure out how to work this voiceover. But what you see in front of you is my Alocasia Golden Bone plant. So when I come back from twisting it. You need to be turning it to face the sunlight, or alternatively putting it in a room with multiple different angles of sunlight. Here I'm just wiping it off. It had a couple of little webs around it. This thing always gets those little webs up in like the little V shape that's at the top of the leaf. I thought it was spider mites at first, but it's so far not had any bugs on it, so maybe I just have a little sort of visitor in my room, which I shudder to think about. But anyway, if you are an Alocasia plant parent, it is a good idea, it is a very good idea to keep it in a room with either multiple angles of light or to rotate it often. I do not do this very, very well or very often. So most of my leaves start facing in a certain direction, so that's why a lot of my Alocasias or Alocasias are staked. They have that little stick in there to try to help keep it upright. So sorry, I just got interrupted by my laundry machine there. But those stakes I usually keep in there to keep them upright. But anyway, what I was gonna say is I'll probably end up potting this thing a little bit deeper, and then putting a stake behind it, and then tying it up with a little bit of soft twine to help it keep itself sort of from leaning over too heavily. I'm getting a lot more open to repotting a lot of my plants. I know that you're supposed to about every 2 years of ownership, but I haven't been necessarily a great for that, mostly because I find repotting nerve-wracking. But recently I've repotted over the course of the summer, I've probably repotted about 4 of my houseplants, 2 of them in other sort of pots, and then 2 of them in their original pot. And it really does just help to refresh the plant. I'm kind of showing off the structure of an Alocasia here. This new leaf that's coming in sprouts out of the old leaf, so you can see that the last newest leaf, it kind of like opens up in a way like in an Alocasia, you'll notice, and this is the same thing with like monsteras and certain philodendrons, you'll see that the previous newest leaf will have this little like bump in it, and then it kind of splits, the stem of that leaf splits open, and then that is where the new leaf is kind of coiled up. I was also doing a lot of tracing of like the veining in the leaves and giving it a little bit of extra water, making sure that it's not sitting in any water or anything like that. I want to avoid root rot as best I can. This thing is absolutely gargantuan though. I can't believe that this thing has gotten so big. It used to be quite small. It used to be that the leaf that I was just holding there was the smallest. I believe that one is the oldest leaf, and that one that I just perked up was the third, and then the second last, and then the newest leaf, and then of course the newly sprouted leaf. That thing has gotten close to bigger than my face. That newest leaf that I'm pointing out there, you'll see it in the background of most of my videos that I film in my room, but it has gotten quite large. The plants in my room do need a little bit of a reorganization, so you might see differences with the backdrop when I film in my room and things like textured leaves, these almost rough, sandpapery almost leaves, and a very unique leaf shape, of course. And then the one that I'm working on right now, kind of tracing the veining, is my Alocasia or Alocasia Fridag. You can see that with most Alocasias, this veining pattern is quite similar. It was with my Golden Bone, and then it kind of, depending on the species that you get, you will see a prominent V shape at the top of the leaf. So it looks like the leaf is vaguely heart-shaped. So you'll see I'm kind of giving it a good wipe down. This one has like a velvety texture to its leaves. This one is also a variegated Alocasia Fridag. The leaf, that big leaf, is not variegated very much. Neither is this one that I'm looking at. But I'm kind of trying to gently take care of this one leaf. I find that you can be slightly rough with houseplants, not terribly so, but you can see there's little variegations up in the corner of this leaf right up where I'm tracing. There I get like a much better view. Some of these leaves in the past have been like very mottled, very splotchy, and that is kind of what makes them so sought after. This one was a gift from my uncle last Christmas. Sometimes, okay, that might have looked weird. I do sometimes smell the dirt for certain plants of mine, because if they get a certain smell to them, usually it's something that it's like either time to refresh the dirt, it's time to do a little bit of scratching around, or I should like check it out or something. Maybe I fertilized too much, but I'm not being weird. But yeah, that Alocasia Fridag was a gift from my uncle, and I was over the moon when I got it because it is such a rare type in and of itself, and then to have it variegated is quite stunning. And then here I kind of am showing off my Alocasia Jacqueline, how it kind of curls around like a claw. I do not believe that is necessarily typical for the Jacquelines, but it is typical for the two leaves that I have. I think one of the most striking things about an Alocasia or an Alocasia Jacqueline is just simply like the shape of the leaves. It is wild to see like those fingery leaves that are just so like, it's hard to really describe how they're shaped. It is kind of claw-like, and that claw-like leaf shape kind of follows that typical veining pattern of an Alocasia or an Alocasia leaf, where I'm kind of struggling with like flipping it outward, but you can see that the green part of the leaves just kind of follow that veining pattern that you're familiar with, where there's no sort of connective tissue. It's all just concentrated around where the veining is. And like I said, this leaf texture is a lot like, it kind of is like, it's sandpapery. It almost feels like, this is going to be such a weird comparison, but like when stubble grows in, or when somebody's shaved their legs, it kind of feels a bit like that, although a bit less sharp, and a bit more just sort of rough. Oh, and I'm also showing off my pot. My Fridag is in my favorite pot that I own. My goodness, I am so sorry about my throat gurgling. But that is those. Those two are incredibly low maintenance. They don't accumulate dust near as easily. Usually I go over them with the duster, and that's fine. Sometimes the duster works. Up next is my Alocasia or my Alocasia Regin. I'm just clipping off a couple of things from some of mine. Sometimes they just like separate from the plant. Sometimes I actually have to clip them. But yeah, you this is probably my most uniquely shaped one. This one does not grow in with the leaf, sort of. The leaf is a direct extension of the stem. It's not like the stem just attaches in behind the leaf, kind of like you've seen with the Friedeck or the Golden Bone. The stem kind of directly carries into the leaf, which retains that same sort of veining pattern, but it is different in that the V shape is a lot sharper, where I would describe most other Alocasia or Alocasia leaves as quite heart-shaped. The Reginae is much more sort of sharp, a V shape. This one is probably the one that I didn't think that I would like, but has really grown on me. I got, my gosh, I'm so sorry about my throat. It's just gonna be that kind of night. The Jacqueline was my first ever Alocasia, but the Reginae was my second before I got the Friedeck. Oh no, that's a lie. I have my Cuprea that I'll show you in a little bit. But the Jacqueline was my second Alocasia, and then the Reginae was the one that kind of sealed my love for them. You'll notice I have a lot of dry bits, and then that leaf is missing its tip. This leaf has been on the plant for quite a while, but I was reading, and I guess it has to do with water not being able to reach those regions of the leaves for whatever reason. This leaf, actually, I bought this plant. It was on sale because it had gotten frozen. I bought it in the winter. It had gotten frozen in transport, so it was on sale at the garden center. And this leaf was coming in, and as it grew in, it was slightly deformed, and it has this like dry hole cracked into it with some living leaf sort of around that hole and then some dead leaf, but I think it makes that leaf look a lot more interesting. This one definitely accumulates a lot of dust, especially that leaf that is slightly malformed, just because it is a little bit sort of cupped, so you get a lot of dust that collects. That leaf is like fucking huge. I love it. I also believe that this Alocasia can also be like interchangeably called the kite shield, because it looks like you could take one of the leaves off and use it as a shield. That is the second newest leaf, and that one that I'm holding right now is the newest leaf. It has kind of been wobbling back and forth, pointing towards my mirror in my room or the window in my room. The other thing that I love is the fact that there's two plants in this. That one that I'm feeling up right now is literally just a separate plant. Sometimes that happens. I love my little poses. I don't know what I was really thinking as I was filming this, but every now and again there's just like these little sort of fun poses that I decide to do. I think I was thinking too much about like, oh, I'm gonna say this then, I'm gonna say that then. Meanwhile, I should just focus on rambling about the plants, really. So that is it for the Reginae. I know this one is, I have to check the bottom of it, because that sticker sometimes blocks water from seeping out. Sometimes it doesn't. So I decided to give it a little bit more, and then I kept it on the counter for the rest of the day, just in case it decided to leak, which I don't believe it did. This one is starting to need a ton more water. I might try to put it in a better pot, or at least one with a dish, or put a dish under it, because it's getting to the point where I need to water it like more than weekly, which is bad because it starts wilting. But I need to just get more on top of that. Oh, okay. Here is one of my sleeper favorites. This one I didn't think I would like as much as I do, but I do. I absolutely adore this. This is the one Philodendron that I own. Well, okay, maybe not anymore, but that's spoilers for a video that's coming up in the future that I have planned. But this is my Philodendron squamiferum that I'm gonna do a little bit of clipping for here. Yeah, and then sometimes what I want to clip just comes straight off with my picking. But this Philodendron, first of all, the leaf shape is absolutely fantastic. I have begun to love a leafy tropical, Its leaves feel like the most, like, smooth rubber, like, it feels, it is really indescribable, but the feeling is so goddamn satisfying, like, to just run your fingers over, especially a new leaf. A new leaf almost feels waxy in a way, but it's so nice looking. I bought this one, and that leaf just had like those chunks taken out of it. I don't know, but its stem is so stunning. I would have clipped it off, but I haven't. And because it stayed alive, I've just kept it like with a scarred up leaf. But I am moving the camera a little bit closer, so that you can see the stems on the leaves. I have no clue what the goal of these stems is, what it does for the plant, but it's literally bumpy. It's literally like what you see is almost like all those little sort of hairs or cilia, whatever you want to call them, on the stems. Those are semi-rigid and rubbery, and then there is a new leaf that's coming in, which I'm very excited about. But it's just so cool. The stems on this one, for sure, helped me decide to get it. I think I will also need to repot this one as well because it is leaning significantly, and I want to try to center it in this pot a little bit more. This is just a pot that I got from IKEA, but it was really, really cute. I really quite liked it. I'm really loving like greens and blues and sort of naturalistic sort of earth tones for at least the, I guess, like color scheme that I use in my rooms, like navy blues, dark green, light green, sages, olives, that kind of thing. But you can see me here just tracing these leaves. I also love the fact that the newer leaves have those little notches in them, whereas the older leaves do not. They are just sort of like straight spade or spear tip shaped. I guess I'm done with the philodendron. Sometimes I think I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to do a plant care video, or I'm going to do a plant care day, what have you. And it ends up just being me thinking like, oh wow, I actually do a not terrible job of taking care of these, so they just kind of stay how they are. Oh, there's me doing another little cut, because like I said, I was doing my laundry earlier. I was doing my laundry this day, and kind of just bouncing back and forth. I will probably cut just a little bit of the video here because I think I'm gone for a couple minutes here, but it's always just interesting, like, when I film these things, what it's actually like to film them, because I, a lot like Flower Child, who suggested this video, like I said, have begun to love voiceover ASMR videos, but I think I overthought the filming process, where literally I should just say fuck it and just film, without thinking of like performing for the camera. But I think I'm gonna try this a little bit more often. I kind of do enjoy having just the video and then being able to sit down and do just a nearly unbroken stream of audio, with just little cuts here and there and stuff like that. It is kind of fun. I can see why people do it, but I'm just going to cut. Oh, okay, I'm back. I think I see my shadow in the fridge. Or else was I getting water or something? I don't know what I was doing, but I can see myself. Okay, hello, I'm back. Alocasia, some Alocasias. Again, these guys were on sale, so I kind of had to, I guess. You will notice that behind me, my one Alocasia nebula Elaine did die a good couple of months ago now, which is okay because it was on its way out. I had gotten it for free. It was a write-off from that garden center, and I just happened to be there when they were throwing them out. And I offered to try to save one, and I gave it another year or so of life. But this is exactly like that plant. This is the one that I'm looking at right now is the Alocasia nebula imperialis. I saw like a couple of little webs in the dirt around it, so that's kind of what I'm staring at there, trying to wipe them away at the dirt level. It probably could have gone better, but it actually has worked. I don't think like those little webs must have been from something that's either dead or gone now because they didn't come back after I wiped them off. But I am just like looking for spider mites. You'll find with tropicals, spider mites are quite common. Especially if you let your plant go dry, or if you're not misting your plant, it's not a humid enough environment. On the other hand, if you water them too much, you get fungus gnats, but those are far more normal, like it's not a sign of an issue if you have just a regular amount of fungus gnats. But these sort of smaller leafed Alocasias do not have as pronounced of a heart shape, but their leaves are so tough and almost leathery. The Nebula Imperialis has got almost a more rubbery kind of feel to it, kind of like a really high quality pleather, I guess you could say, which is kind of weird to think about. But this next one, which is the black dragon, this one I am very excited about, as you can probably see. This one is like the full-on leathery, sort of tough, thick leaf texture. This one is also two plants in one. You can kind of see two stems coming out of the dirt, and there is a little leaf that is just coming in. It's sprouting out of the next newest leaf. This one, they must have been misting it in the garden center, or it was under a drip or something, because there's all of this watermark on the leaves. That's the one thing about Alocasias, is that if you are misting them with tap water, and if your tap water is too hard, often they will get a watermark on them. The nice thing is, though, is that I do not mist them often enough to warrant having to wipe them off too terribly often, but they were clearly doing something at the garden center that was watermarking this one. But I am so excited for this one. I've got it in the perfect pot, and I'm just really excited for it to make it up to my room to see where it's going to live. But you can see, oh yeah, I'm pointing out the double plant phenomenon, I guess you could say, inside of the pot. And the other thing that is really interesting about the black dragon is that the leaves almost completely avoid the see, I rinse my hands a lot when I'm working with my plants, because I don't want to cross-contaminate anything if possible. But this gives you a much better view of my Alocasia Cuprea. This is, the Cuprea is really known for that sort of metallic brassy quality to its leaves. It's got a very ribcage style of veining to the leaves, and that's the newest leaf that I was just handling. It is the shiniest, that is the next newest leaf, and then those two back there are a little bit older. They've probably been around for about a year, but, like, look at that. It is larger than my fucking head. I was comparing to it. My mom has actually a picture on her phone that it is much larger than my head, which is just wild. I love this thing, though. It's potted in that pot with, like, it's called a nerve plant, which I do like as well, but if it dies, I'm not going to complain. It will just give me the chance to repot this thing and give it a little bit more space. You can see that is where the new leaf sprouted out of. I try to do a little bit of peeling, but I really tried to leave this one